What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Wrestling Decoded, and today we're covering the end of something that, for a lot of people who grew up watching wrestling in the 2000s, genuinely feels like the end of an era in the truest sense of that phrase. John Cena retired from professional wrestling on December 13th, 2025, after a full year-long farewell tour that wound through dozens of cities, produced some of the most emotionally compelling matches of his entire career, and ended with a moment so specifically crafted that it's going to take years to fully appreciate just how deliberate every single detail of it actually was. So today we're walking through the entire last chapter, the announcement, the tour, the matches that actually delivered, and the final night itself. Let's get into it. If you're into these deep dives into wrestling's most defining career moments, that's exactly what this channel does. Go ahead and subscribe before we start. The announcement itself set the tone for everything that followed. In Toronto, John Cena offered a heartfelt speech of gratitude to his wrestling fans, announcing his official retirement from the ring and declaring next year's WWE WrestleMania his final one. "The 2025 Royal Rumble will be my last," Cena said. "The 2025 Elimination Chamber will be my last. And I'm here tonight to announce that in Las Vegas, WrestleMania 2025 will be the last I compete in." The crowd in Toronto, by all accounts, genuinely didn't want to hear it. Fans booed as the wrestler-turned-actor told them of his official retirement, which would include a farewell tour the following year. And then, toward the end of a 6-minute speech that started to feel like a real goodbye rather than a wrestling promo, the audience began a chant of "Thank you, Cena," something he called an incredible gesture of kindness, telling the crowd, "Thank you so much for letting me play in the house that you built for so many years." Here's what made the announcement land differently from most retirement speeches in wrestling. Cena gave himself a full year to do it properly. He announced he expected to wrestle 30 to 40 matches in 2025 to conclude his final year, a workload that would have been ambitious for a performer half his age, and one that required him to deliver consistently across 12 consecutive months of farewell moments in city after city. Here's a question worth sitting with. How many wrestlers actually manage to make a full-year retirement tour feel emotionally genuine rather than commercially extended? Because what happened across 2025 answered that question in a way most people didn't expect. The tour kicked off on January 6th during the Netflix debut of Monday Night Raw, immediately establishing that this final chapter was going to be attached to one of WWE's biggest broadcast transitions in company history. The early months of the tour produced competent television, but hadn't yet found the emotional register the whole thing needed, and by several critical assessments, the first half of 2025 felt more like obligation than destination. That changed significantly as the tour built toward its most compelling individual moments. The match against AJ Styles stood out almost universally among critics and fans alike as a genuine love letter to professional wrestling. Both Cena and Styles gave masterful performances with an emotional last-time feel, knowing both would be retired within a year and a half of each other, the Perth crowd amplifying every near fall in a way that made the whole thing feel larger than just another farewell match on a farewell tour. Then came what many considered the single most unexpected moment of the entire tour. Elimination Chamber, Toronto, described by multiple observers as arguably the most unbelievable moment of the farewell tour and perhaps of Cena's whole career. The match against Cody Rhodes, framed as a street fight with the undisputed WWE Championship on the line, produced the kind of performance that completely recontextualized what people had been expecting from this last chapter. From bell to bell, Cena and Rhodes gave it their absolute best, with amazing street fight spots and the wildly unexpected return of Brock Lesnar changing the entire course of the match. Quick pause here. Drop a comment on whether you think the Cena versus Rhodes street fight at Elimination Chamber was genuinely one of the best matches of the year, because I think there's a legitimate argument it belongs in that conversation. The Intercontinental Championship chapter of the Farewell Tour deserves its own moment of recognition because it completed something that had been missing from Cena's career for years. Cena finally captured the one title that had eluded him in WWE. Not only did he complete the career Grand Slam by winning the Intercontinental Championship, but he did it in his hometown of Boston against the ultimate heel in Dominic Mysterio. It's the kind of detail that a lesser farewell tour wouldn't have thought to include. using the final year not just as a victory lap through past achievements, but as an opportunity to finally close an open storyline that had gone unfinished. He later lost that championship back to Mysterio at Survivor Series in San Diego in a match where Mysterio pulled every trick available, with Liv Morgan's surprise return playing a direct role in the outcome, a heel finish that kept the tour from feeling like a series of sentimental wins and gave the final stretch genuine dramatic weight. Cena's final Monday Night Raw took place at Madison Square Garden, a venue deeply connected to some of his most iconic career moments, including his shocking 2008 Royal Rumble return and his first WWE Championship at WrestleMania X. The building that had seen the beginning of what he was getting the chance to properly close out, a fitting location to say goodbye to the weekly television chapter of it. And then, December 13th, 2025, Capital One Arena, Washington, D.C. The crowd inside a packed Capital One Arena was buzzing long before the bell, knowing they were about to witness the end of an era. When his music hit, the building erupted as more than 19,000 fans roared. His opponent, determined through the Last Time Is Now tournament, was Gunther, the reigning dominant world heavyweight champion, a performer whose entire character is built around the idea that excellence in wrestling is earned through physicality and sustained pressure rather than charisma and spectacle. In many ways, the most fitting possible final opponent for a performer whose entire career had been a debate about exactly those things. In a memorable 23-minute match, Cena ultimately suffered a submission defeat, tapping out to Gunther's sleeper hold. The manner of defeat, a submission loss, was particularly symbolic, as Cena had only tapped out 4 times previously in his lengthy WWE career. The crowd spent those 23 minutes exactly the way crowds are supposed to spend final matches, cheering Cena on, hoping to will him to a victory that would have defied the history of the industry, chanting, "Don't give up," as Gunther's hold tightened in the closing minutes. After the match, a tribute video featuring celebrities, including Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Jimmy Fallon, and Jelly Roll was played, Jelly Roll specifically noting the rarity of 17 world championships across a career. When the video ended, the ringside area had become completely filled with talent and staff wanting to witness the final moments. Cena removed his boots and armbands and left them in the center of the ring, the same symbolic gesture, the same language The Undertaker had used when his story reached its own ending. He walked up the ramp slowly, paused at the top to look back at the audience one last time, offered a final bow to the camera, and then a last salute. "It has been a pleasure serving you all these years." With that, John Cena disappeared backstage and the show faded out, marking the end of one of the greatest careers in the history of professional wrestling. So here's what this entire last chapter actually was, beneath the matches and the moments. A performer who'd spent 20 years being the company's most polarizing figure, simultaneously the most booed man in arenas and the most beloved figure in children's hospitals, choosing to spend his final year in a way that let both versions of that legacy exist at once. He didn't win everything. He didn't go out on his back in a feel-good WrestleMania moment. He tapped out to a sleeper hold in Washington, D.C. in December after 12 months of work that reminded everyone watching exactly why he mattered in the first place. Which moment from Cena's farewell tour do you think you'll still be talking about 10 years from now? Let me know down in the comments. And if you want more of these deep dives into wrestling's most defining career chapters, make sure you're subscribed to Wrestling Decoded. There's plenty more of this still to uncover.